It's important that people stop calling dissociative identity disorder controversial. Let's break down what this term means. What this term means is there are mental health professionals, and I do that in quotes specifically because these people call themselves mental health professionals. However, they are not behaving with the integrity of mental health professionals, nor what they're supposed to be doing in their job. Mental health professionals are in this, does it exist, does it not exist? It exists. If you are a mental health professional that thinks it's controversial, that means you are abusing your power. DID is absolutely real. You don't have the right to debate our existence. And I put debate in quotation marks because this isn't up for debate. This exists. DID exists. What you're doing is you're actually silencing trauma survivors. Because DID does not exist, it's not inherent, you can't be born with it. The reason we are DID systems is because prolonged torture happened in early childhood. That's what split our brain to survive. Now, for those of us who are RAMCOA survivors, this was done intentionally. For those who are not RAMCOA survivors, it was not done intentionally to create a DID system. Who are not RAMCOA survivors and were not created intentionally, it does look a little bit different, but the trauma and prolonged torture still exists. It's regardless of what that looked like, it took something extreme and prolonged to create a DID system. So the fact that psychologists and therapists are calling it controversial is absolutely unethical. Abuse of power because you're using your degree to silence a trauma disorder. That's not healthy. That's not even remotely ethical. And my idea of psychology and therapy would be to help survivors and to help people, be able to get through trauma. Who do you think you are to debate our existence? We exist, we're real. So that's why it's an abuse of power, because you're supposed to be supporting survivors. And if you can't personally conceive of DID, that is your mental capacity. It has nothing to do with whether we exist or not. We exist, we're here, we're real, and there's a lot more of us than people want to talk about. But the fact that your limited capacity, or that you are so confronted by DID that you are in the mental health field and you're considering DID too strange to exist, is a problem. You need to reevaluate your career. You need to reevaluate your career because you do not get to put your degree into supporting people. Do you understand that there are people who actually hunt DID systems? Are you aware of that? We'd have to deal with not just dangers out in the world, but people who are supremely unhinged and try to come after us, try to hurt us, try to silence us. And on top of abusers trying to silence DID systems from coming forward because it outs what they did to these people. There's also cults that are involved in this. So yeah, there's a lot of people trying to silence DID systems. So if you are a mental health professional and you are part of the silencing tactic of shutting down DID systems, you should be embarrassed. You should absolutely be embarrassed, and you have the chance to grow. Take it. Otherwise, step down. Because we're not invalid. You are. You don't get to have an opinion on whether we exist when the reality is we do exist. How would you like if someone had an opinion on your existence? Oh, I've decided you're not real. I've decided you don't exist. We would promptly see that as gaslighting. You don't get to take your ignorance and double down into arrogance using your PhDs, using your degrees, using whatever you have. What you're doing is outing your ignorance and your hatred, because it takes hatred to silence trauma survivors. You're doing something extremely wrong. You are in the wrong. Our existence is valid. Your abuse of power is not. So take it down. You don't get to debate our existence. You don't get to say it's controversial. It's not controversial. It may be controversial in your mind and your capacity to process it. You may be dealing with cognitive dissonance. For you, internally, it's controversial, but it's not out here. We're real. We exist. So do your work, right? You're a psychologist. You're a therapist. You have degrees. You have tools. Do your work that you're confronted by DID. Own the fact that you're confronted by DID. Say that you don't understand, and then take the steps to learn to understand. Otherwise, you're in the wrong profession. Get a new job. But stop trying to put your voice to silencing us as DID systems, or pretending it's controversy. There's no controversy here. The controversy you're experiencing is internal. Deal with it. And stop talking about dismissing our existence. We exist. We are plurals. We are not personalities. That's not what we are. We are full individual beings sharing one body. We're not personalities of each other. Each alter has their own personal personality, but they are not a personality. I'm not a personality of them. They're not a personality of me. So that's another that doesn't work. There's so much you don't know about DID. And the only way you're going to learn is by humbling yourself and listening to DID systems. Not by being a problem. Because you're being dangerous to DID systems, and that goes against the ethics of being a psychologist and a therapist. So I will continue to invalidate all of you. Any psychologist or therapist who decides that DID is controversial, I will continue to invalidate you and continue to support the DID community in validating you, and continue to support those of us who have allies and people who are around us who understand the reality of what we live and who support us. I'll continue to support them in validating you as well, and I will continue to educate people so that the public will start to invalidate you as well. That's my goal here. Because if you think you can invalidate DID systems, you are so wrong. You're so wrong. And you're hurting DID systems. And you could cause a newly aware DID system, you could cause them their life. How dare you? You are going against the very code you signed up for as a therapist and psychologist. Nah, I don't think so. You're invalid, not DID systems. So, grow up, learn, deal with your cognitive dissonance, show up as an ally, or be quiet and take time to understand why you're so confronted by our existence. But be self-responsible about it. Don't project it out here as if you get to debate our existence. You don't. That is unethical, that's arrogant, it's the most egotistical, and quite frankly, it's so abusive. You're abusing DID systems by pretending you have a right to debate our existence. Absolutely not. So if you are a DID system and you are listening to this, listen, boo-boos. Pay attention here. These people are the ones who are not in touch with reality. They're going to try and gaslight you. You got to stand strong, stand in the reality of what your system is and how your existence is. We live in a singlet predominant existence, or at least singlet presenting existence, because there's a lot more of us than most people want to talk about, but a lot of people don't because of our safety. The fact that licensed psychologists and therapists are adding to the danger of our lives? What? This is where I make the distinction between psychologists and therapists who are healthy, that are actually psychologists and therapists, and then abusers and egoists who are hiding as psychologists and therapists, who are doing this for themselves, for their ego, to establish their own limited mindset into the world and onto other people, and then diagnose accordingly. So I'm talking about, these are abusers. That's who I'm talking to. And those of you who are actually psychologists and therapists who are here because of you actually care about humanity and you want to support people, I need y'all to do the same thing. I need y'all to stand up, and I need you to stop giving credence to these people and stop giving, validating this we're debating or it's controversial. Don't feed into that. Do not feed into that. Just call it out for what it is. It is abuse of power, and it is a lack of integrity, and it goes against the ethics of psychology and therapy. So especially to the young systems right now, if you are trying to solidify and like really get grounded, be very careful who you take on as a therapist and a psychologist. Okay, because a lot of them don't know shit about DID. Like, let's be honest. A lot of them are not equipped to actually diagnose you correctly. And that's the horror of it right now. There are so many DID systems that I've spoken with and we've spoken to who were put into mental health facilities, who were incorrectly diagnosed, who were given medications, who are speaking up about it now, but they had large parts of their lives ruined because of the ignorance of psychology, of the psychology field, and of the mental health industry. And so these psychologists and therapists who call themselves this, who are actually abusers hiding as psychologists and therapists, they are feeding the abuse of power of the mental health professional field against DID systems. So they're a part of the abuse that DID systems survive because they feed this narrative with their arrogance. So they are not only promoting, they are spearheading the abuse towards DID systems. I want to make that super clear, so I'm going to say it again. Psychologists and therapists who think that DID is controversial or that they have a right to debate the existence of us as DID systems, they are spearheading the abuse of DID systems, not only in the mental health professional field, but in society. So this is where we break this up, right? Because we're talking about human rights here. And these psychologists and therapists are going against the human rights of DID systems. And it's beyond problematic. It's an abuse of power. It is straight up abuse. Okay? So if you are a brand new system, you're looking for a psychologist or a therapist, or a coach, a life coach, whatever feels safe for you, but be very careful, because there's people who even say, yes, I have this, but they, whatever they studied was super brief and they didn't continue their study. This is the issue, is that even the psychologists and therapists who had some studies on DID, they don't continue their studies beyond what they've learned. The best DID therapists, and I'm going to tell you because I've been lucky enough to have two so far, and I've been, it's been wonderful. So the best DID therapist that I've experienced have listened to, one of them even said, there's more I need to learn about DID, but I'm here to learn about it. And that's the thing, like, they don't have to know everything, but if they're willing to learn and they know enough to like support or like be there for your system, and they're not pushing fusion, be careful of stay away from any therapist that's like, this is the only goal for you as a DID system is to fuse and pretend you're a singlet. For some systems, that works, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you have a DID therapist who that's their focus and tells you that's the way you're healed, go away. I'm telling you, because it does not give flexibility. That might shift for you. So you guys might want to start off as like, yeah, we definitely want to fuse into one expression of existence, but you might find that shift, and you might not. But either way, you want a therapist who's not like, this is the way, because they're just not going to be helpful to your system. They're just not. Our system, personally, we're not interested in this final fusion type of ideal. We've organically had a bunch of fusions that's happened before we even became aware. There are fusions that happen in the backdrop, and we're fine with that. But we don't want to live as one existence, because personally we're like, that's not real. We're not a singlet. Our brain split. We can't unsplit our brain. We can't unsplit our brain. We're not singlets. We are a plural existence. So we want to live as a team. We're a strong team. We love each other so much, and so we work really well together. There are still moments that are difficult. There's every day is hard as a DID system. I don't have to tell you that if you're a DID system watching this, but yeah, we don't want to do that. So, but to each system their own. Only you will know what's true for you. But you need a therapist who has that flexibility to support your system because you might find even a different way of expressing. There's just no right way to be a DID system. And if someone's telling you there is, that's a massive red flag. But listen, boo-boos, if you are dealing with, obviously society who's trying to invalidate us, that people are so used to a singlet existence that the thought that there are people who aren't singlets, that we are plural, is so beyond their scope of capacity to process that they get violent. And so these psychologists and therapists, their violence is to try to eradicate our very existence through verbalizing we don't exist. They can't do that. That's delusional, right? Like, you're delulu, right? You can't just speak us out of existence. So there's something a bit wrong with you if you think that's the case, and you're a therapist and a psychologist. You should really go see a therapist or a psychologist who actually has it together and who can support you in this process of understanding DID. You need professional support in that. And let us be able to have access to the real professionals who are there for us and who want to learn and to support us. Because healing doesn't look one way, and especially not for a DID system. So, if you're new, don't let anybody invalidate you. It doesn't matter how old you are, too. Like, don't let people invalidate you. Just gonna say it that way. We do a lot of invalidating of people, regardless of their age, from one spectrum to another. And some DID systems don't become aware until their 70s, if at all. And so you're like, look, I'll go deeper into this in another video, but sometimes you see in systems who have come out and then they'll be like, no, I made it all up. That's actually part of a program to silence the DID system. There are alters who will come out and pretend DID wasn't real, it was all made up. So just be aware of that. Just be aware of that, because I've seen it multiple times and I see it repeatedly. People are like, oh, well, they just said it wasn't real. No, someone in their system came out and said it isn't real. Another way someone in the system will come out for that is if they feel like the system's in danger. So this is what these psychologists and therapists who are abusing their power, who are abusers, let's call them what they are, who are abusers, who are trying to eradicate our existence with their opinion. Let's talk about this. You can't, I can't say there is no gravity because that's my opinion. We're not talking opinion anymore, right? We're talking delulu. We're talking delusions. I'm just gonna, there's no gravity. I'm going to float now. Because my opinion is there's no gravity. These aren't opinions. You see it a lot within white supremacy as well. This is my opinion. This is not an opinion. This is your delulu. So what happens is, because of this delusional abuse that these psychologists and therapists are projecting onto DID systems, an alter's like, this is not safe. Someone else pops, they can trigger a reaction in the system to shut the system down. So what's happening is, with this abuse of power, it becomes kind of a program. So these people are programming or hitting on a program in a DID system, which is like they're triggering out the alter that says this is not safe, these people are not safe, this world is not safe, we don't exist, we made it up. Abusive therapists and psychologists can push a DID system into survival on such a level it will trigger a program and trigger out an alter who says we don't exist. So this is why we don't fake claim anybody, because I don't know what that person's going through, but I am aware that there's programs in DID systems that trigger out an alter that can say, nope, made it up. And that's a protective measure. So these therapists and psychologists are triggering out a protective measure within a DID system to say, nope, this isn't real. And instead of understanding that this is what's happening, because they're ignorant as all hell, right? Obviously, because they're in the land of Delulu. There's no gravity because my opinion says otherwise. So these people in the land of Delulu who are downright abusing DID systems are triggering this out. And because they're not taking the time to communicate with DID systems. They're not taking the time to understand the processes of DID systems or get to know and humble and listen and learn as the actual therapists and psychologists do. And I'm so glad that I've had great experiences I've had more bad experiences than good experiences. But I'm glad I've had good experiences to kind of like juxtapose what's possible versus what's toxic and abusive in the mental health professional field. So because they're such limited capacity and they're so arrogant, they think they know everything about DID, they're using what their abuse triggered in the DID system, which pulled out the alter to say, no, we don't exist. They're using that to then double down and be like, see, I was right. No, stupid. And I'm going to call you stupid because if you can sit here and try to eradicate my existence with your opinions because you're ignorant as hell, I'm going to call you stupid. I don't care how many letters you have in front of your name. This is stupid behavior. Okay. And it's beyond. That's even nice. Calling it stupid behavior is nice. Actually, it's abusive. You're being an abuser. So you are being so dangerous to DID systems, you're triggering out their failsafe, and an alter is coming out to shut it all down. That's what you're doing. You're being so dangerous, you just shut down a DID system who may or may never recover. But what happens when a DID system is shut down is they miss out on the support that they could have. Okay? And they may never recover. But here's the thing about alters. We come back. You cannot suppress alters. You can try to. You could really try to. I spent many years of people asking me, like, or do you think you have DID? And I'm like, no. Because why? I went to psychologists, I went to therapists who told me that was not real. That my DID system was not real. That he told me about DID because I found out someone else had DID and I was like, what is this? So he gave me some information to educate me on DID. But then when I asked him if I had DID, he told me, no, I was paranoid and that's not a diagnosis either. And I'll repeat this. I've said it in many videos, but it's so fucked up, right? So I've been in therapy for multiple years, many, many years. How is 2025? God, I've been in therapy for at least 12 years, maybe longer. It wasn't until we became aware 3 years ago, going to be 4 years ago this October, we became aware as a system. Nobody caught it. Nobody caught it. I was losing time. And I even told this to a therapist who I had for 2 years who I actually really enjoyed, but she wasn't equipped to help me when I said, I'm losing time. And the first time that I became conscious of, I knew I've been losing time for a lot, but I wasn't aware of it. The first time I became conscious of that, I was in the shower. I was looking at the water was on. I was looking in the mirror. Next thing I know, I'm out of the shower. I'm wet with a towel on. That was fucking terrifying. I was like, what just happened? It felt like, and it didn't, and the thing about that blackout is, I don't know if people think it looks a certain way, but for what that blackout felt like was, I didn't know the blackout. Like it wasn't like, oh, I'm sitting in darkness. That's not what it felt like. It was just, here I am. And the next second, it's completely different. What happened? That's what happened. That was the experience. So I'm glad I've had good therapists since who've been able to support me. But when you are abusing, when you're being an abuser as a psychologist and a therapist, and you are in Delulu and trying to pretend that DID isn't real, what you're doing is you're keeping DID systems from the support we need. And DID systems need fucking a good, healthy amount of support. just even to function, this is a really intense disability. Just even to function, it takes so much. So if you're proud of yourself, if you're a psychologist and a therapist who thinks you can debate DID or thinks DID is controversial, and you're proud of yourself for denying a DID system who we deal with some of the most intense just trauma experiences, trauma flashbacks, we are switching out different people. If you are proud of yourself from shutting someone down who really does need support from the mental health industry, and you think that's something to be proud of, you are a sick individual and you need fucking help. You need help. You need a good therapist. The thing is, you can turn it around. Just because, like, me and my system, we're all about, like, redemption. Just because you really fucked up and you've done a lot of fucking damage doesn't mean you can't turn that around. Don't sit here and feel sorry for yourself. I mean, feel that if you need to, but, don't stay there. Don't sit there and play a victim to what I'm saying here, because what you're doing is victimizing DID systems. Get it together. Get it together, because you can actually make a difference and support DID systems. You don't have to stay as an abuser towards DID systems. I'm going to keep calling y'all out. Not going to stop. Anytime you can choose to start fresh. At any time. You don't have to stay there. You can make a difference. You can become one of the biggest fucking DID allies and really get people the support we need, because we need support on such a big level, on such a massive level, from what we deal with all the time, from the trauma we survived. We are survivors of child torture. And you're trying to silence us and keep us from resources? Reflect on that. Something is off. Something is off with you if you are getting high on keeping survivors of child torture from support, and you're trying to pretend we don't exist. Now, here's the other thing that could be possible. You could be a part of what creates DID systems. So, the people who are trying to silence us are either ignorant and arrogant and egotistical as fuck and abusers, and that's why they're trying to do it and they're getting high off of it, or you're a part of the cults that continues to perpetuate DID systems, and you want us to shut up, and you have injected yourself in the psychology world. And I guarantee you there's at least several, and I'm underestimating for sure. There are people who are hiding as psychologists and therapists who are part of cults as well, who are using that to shut down DID systems because they don't want to out the circle that they are a part of. And if you think that just because someone has a degree, they can't be a pedophile, I am so sorry to tell you that's not the case. And I think if you pay attention to the news even a little bit, you will know that's not the case. There's a lot of people who set themselves up on a pedestal that society praises, and we've seen this in the religious sectors. I am telling you to pay attention to the psychology fields too. If you just even do a little research, you will see that there are abusers who hide in the psychology field. Why? They get to also reinforce their abuse. So here's the thing about psychology. No one's perfect, right? People who go into psychology and to therapy, they have their own stuff to work through. Now, the actual, and I'm using the term actual because I actually do believe in psychology and therapy as a really important tool that can benefit the world. For me, I'm like, oh my God, everybody just go to therapy. Wow, the world would be so fucking different, right? The problem is there's not that there are abusive therapists and psychologists who make it dangerous for some people. Like they can really hurt people. And so when I say actual therapists and psychologists, is because I believe that despite the really, really dark and seedy history of psychology, if you even just do just a little bit of research, psychology has mostly not really been on the right side of history. You put it that way, putting it mildly. But even still, there have been psychologists who have pushed through. There have been psychologists who are like, no, we are here to help people. Just kind of like doctors, right? I call them like the healers in doctors. Like, you can tell when someone went into medicine because they genuinely give a fuck about people, and it's in everything they do. And when you're in the presence of a real doctor, like, who's there to heal people, God, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. And they really take care of you. That's how I feel about psychologists and therapists. When you're in the presence of a really good psychologist and therapist who really went in to be of service to people, to help people have a safe life, have a healthy life, have a prosperous life, you can really tell. And it's beautiful. I call them the true psychologists and therapists. That's what I stand for. I don't stand for this abusive, egotistical bullshit that is perpetuating the toxic slime that psychology has been historically. I'm here for the psychologists and therapists who are revolutionizing and who have, even in the darkest times of psychology, they come from the line of therapists and psychologists who revolutionized therapy and psychology. That's who I'm standing for. That's who I want highlighted. That's who I want to be the norm, right? So when I say that there are definitely at least some, again, I'm sure there's more than some, but psychologists and therapists who are part of the cults, who are here to silence DID systems. For some people, I'd be like, that sounds a little paranoid. Is it? Have you been paying attention to people in power? Because, like I said, you can do just a little research. You can see the dangers. And this isn't to scare people off from going to therapy. No, like we've said before, we want good therapy to happen for people. The reality, though, is it's not, and we have these abusers. So in order to support good therapy being the norm, we are going to continue to out the abusers in therapy in the psychology field, especially those who are in the land of Delulu and trying to eradicate our existence as DID systems with their opinion. So just remember, we cannot opinion away gravity. No one can opinion away your existence. And this also shows a singlet supremacy mindset, which, I mean, it all comes back to white supremacy, right? But it's ableist as fuck. These psychologists and therapists are ableist, okay? And this isn't the only sector where there's been psychologists and therapists who are ableist. Sure, you can find it in multiple sectors. But speaking about DID, this is ableism. If you think DID is up for debate or it's controversial, you're being an ableist. Let's call it what it is. You're being an ableist. Because you are thinking, as a singlet supremacist, thinking that only your existence can be real because that's what you understand. And as a therapist and psychologist, you should have the tools to go beyond that, right? It's so alarming. So, myself and our system, which is nurture system, we will continue to talk about this. What we want to normalize for DID systems, especially brand new aware DID systems, is that they're invalid. These abusers, these ableist psychologists and therapists, these ableist abusers in psychologist and therapist clothing, they're delusional, and they're trying to project that onto you. They're ableist and abusive. This is an abuse of power. Please do not take this on. Please do not take this on. So again, these ableist abusers, which I know is redundant, but I kind of really want to highlight the term ableism here because that's a big part of what's happening here. These ableist supremacist abusers are trying to invalidate you as a DID system. They are invalid, not you. So I want to continue to invalidate the invalidators, and we want to properly support educating society on DID and how you cannot get on the ableist train and the hate train and the supremacist train and actually stand by DID systems and learn about our existence. We are not personalities. We are a plural existence. We are plural people in one body. We are not a personality of each other. And every DID system is different. So the size is going to be different. The way we present an outer world is going to be different. There's no right way to DID. Okay. And we are trauma survivors. Our system, we survived child trafficking. We survived horrors. We survived horrors, that of which would make your horror movies seem like a Christmas special. Okay? We didn't survive. We survived a lot of things that others did not survive around us. We did not survive child trafficking, child torture, the training that we were put through, the torture we were put through. We didn't survive that for a delusional, ableist, supremacist abuser hiding in psychology and therapy clothing to try and tell us our existence isn't real, try to invalidate us. I don't think so. Do you understand what I survived? And you think you're going to come up against me and I'm going to be intimidated by you? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You've got some you sit down and learn. So yeah, I'm not going to be bullied, I'm not going to be silenced, and I'm not going to let you bully or silence the DID community. We're not going to have we're not here for that. We're not here for that. And we will continue to educate so that singlets can continue to be here with us and we can be a community together, instead of these abusers trying to ostracize us or trying to silence us. Okay? So, if you are a DID system, I hope you're safe. It really breaks our hearts to know that a lot of DID systems are not. That's the unfortunate reality. I hope you get to safety soon. We hope you get to safety soon. We hope you're gentle with yourselves. If you come across this abuser, these type of abusers, it's important to take some time to ground and heal, to not let their delusionals, their abusive supremacy, because you're dealing with a supremacist. Okay, if someone's trying to eradicate your existence, that's a supremacist. Okay, that's problematic. And if you look at the temperature of what we're living in, supremacists are just becoming more and more emboldened. That being said, we will continue to invalidate the invalidators because they're not valid. You're valid as fuck. And we're not happy for you that you're a DID system and you know what that's like, because we know what it takes. We're sorry that you understand and that you have to exist this way as well. But we are glad that you do exist and that you survived. And now you get to create the life that you want, that you were never allowed to have. Have a safe space for your system, for your littles, your middles, your teens, for all of your adults in the system too, your infants too. And we wish you good teamwork for your system. And yeah, we're just going to keep sharing our experience too as a system. And our system has a podcast, Nurture System. We do use voice changer there. I mean, we do have that as a disclaimer in the before the video starts, but we do use voice changers for different parts in the system. It helps. It helps the guys with their dysphoria. It helps different women in their systems with their dysmorphia. So, you know, if voice changers are triggering, just be aware of that, and maybe it's not for use. But we are going to be sharing. We are going to be making more podcasts, and we are going to be sharing more of our own team building, and what worked for us may not work for you guys at all. So please don't take it as a roadmap that this is how you have to do, but it might spark some inspiration on what feels right for your system. And it might work for your system. Who knows, right? But we'll keep sharing and we'll keep doing that. And we're going to keep standing up against these abusers because we know how exhausting this is. We've been aware, as we said, for almost 4 years. So we have a foundation. We just dealt with one of these abusers. And it was intense. It took our system down for a couple of days. Well, actually longer. It took, the most intense was for the first couple days, and then it was like the lingering, and we're still processing it because it feels like a betrayal, and it's very painful to deal with abusers. And we hadn't dealt with that. The last abuser we had was years back, and as far as the psychology field, we were having really good experiences. I will say that this is the fourth time that we've had this level of abuse. There's been multiple levels of, but this damaging level of abuse, and it's been again with a white male. So also, if you're a DID system of color, you even have to look at a whole nother layer, because you're going to be dealing with not just singlet supremacy and those layers of white supremacy, but full on white supremacy. You're going to be, and especially if you're an AFAB like us, you're going to be dealing with misogynoir. Misogynoir is specifically pinpointed at black women. It is just full on hatred of black women. Okay. So you're going to have another layer to have to work through. Because even if you do find a DID therapist who is more likely, here's the thing, oh, fucking white supremacy. So there, you might even find DID, if you hear from another DID system and they're white and they're like, oh, I had a good experience with this therapist, you might, but also just go in there aware that just because a white therapist is able to diagnose a white DID system does not mean they will diagnose you as a black DID system. Not that they're diagnosing you as black. You know what I mean. That as a black DID system, you're going to get diagnosed properly, because white supremacy comes down to not listening to us, treating us as if we're hysterical, minimizing our voices, especially black AFABs. We are least likely to be believed, and that's killed a lot of us. And we are more likely to be either misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. Yay! Or so it's like, so if you are a black system, this is a whole nother level you're going to have to watch out for. Okay. So take your DID system friends, their recommendations, just go in there with the understanding that they could have been great for them as white people with white people. They may not be okay with you. And they might. If you're lucky, they might. I'm not saying don't go for it. I'm just saying go in with eyes open. Don't let anybody underdiagnose you. Don't let anybody misdiagnose you. Unfortunately, as a system, we don't really have control over when alters are like, woohoo, I'm out, when you're first becoming aware. What happens is, if you are a DID system and someone tells you you're not, but you are, they are going to ping out in different ways. And for you, it's going to look like behavior that you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. You're not. Someone else is. Someone else is doing it. And you're just left with the consequences. Like, someone came in, ate a donut, and now it's all you. Yay. And obviously, I'm really being like, it's not as gentle as being a donut. It's severe, and it's real. And there could be really dangerous things that happen when DID systems are suppressed. So this is another part of these ableist supremacist abusers hiding as psychologists and therapists. They put DID systems in more danger, because if a DID system is repressed, they're still going to come out. Alters will ping out, and they will act out if they're not seen. They're like, you are going to see me. And if that means you wake up in another state, here we are. And so, and it's not always that extreme for every DID system, but the blackouts will increase. They're not going to get better. Our blackouts did not get better until we got support. And until we started to work together as a team as well. So even if you don't have a therapist and you can't get to it and everything's so fucking dangerous, work together as a team. The more you start to communicate as a team, the blackouts for us lessened. It does take time. Now we don't black out. We do have like grayouts where we're like, but we're always in a safe position. We don't black out. We've never blacked out driving. So we've been very lucky as a system with that. So that's never been a danger for us, but for other systems it could be. So these people are putting, these abusers are putting DID systems in more and more grave danger, and we're just not going to allow that shit. Stop. Okay. Um, we have, I have spent, me personally, Crystal, I have spent since I was little deconstructing. I've been hyper vigilant thanks to trauma. So I have spent a lot of my time deconstructing, listening to people, deconstructing what are they doing, what are they saying. So my vernacular and my practice since I was little, I mean, I'm 43 years old. So I have decades of practice of doing this deconstruction. So I am very happy to use it to support people. The bottom line of what we do with Open Hearts Unite is to support people having the tools to combat the gaslighting, the grooming, any of the manipulative tactics of abusers. I want you to have these tools, and we want you to have these tools so that you don't get hurt by these people and that you can push them away and you can stand in your sovereignty and you can have the life you want and love and have fun. Because, quite frankly, we fucking deserve it. I mean, DID systems, we've been through fucking hell. You deserve to have a relaxing life. I mean, every human being deserves to have a relaxing life, but I'm saying, as a DID system, damn it, you've been through hell. You deserve to have safety, love, care, not these ableist morons who are out here. And quite frankly, this is delusional. This is like, I don't know, bordering a little bit towards psychotic. Like, what are you doing? So you're valid. You deserve to have rest. I hope that you can, if you're watching this video, you can do something nice for yourselves as a system. Get cozy, maybe get some blankets, or if it's too hot where you are, drink something nice and cool, or whatever's not triggering, because if food is triggering, then fuck that. But whatever feels comfortable for your system, we hope that you guys can take a moment and do that for yourselves today. Take a little moment to rest. Take a little moment to just have fun. Take a little moment to watch what you want, play a little video game, or just rest, read a book, whatever, listen to music. I'd paint, draw, I don't know, whatever feels cozy for you right now, or do absolutely nothing and lay down and just stare at the ceiling and just breathe gently and relax your body. Whatever fits for you. We hope that you can take some time for yourself to do that, because this world is a toxic place with all these abusers, but is also filled with so much beauty and joy and fun that you can have, and you deserve that. You really do. I know that could be hard for some of you to hear if you grew up, you know, especially as DID systems. I know the trauma that is, and it can be at first even really grating to hear that, and I understand. So if that's too much, just think of something that makes you feel nice, that truly makes you feel nice, and see if you can find what that is. And maybe if you get a chance, not right now, or if you feel like it at some point, journal with your system. See if other parts, like what they like to do, what makes them feel cozy. And it's basically, and right now Ambert is very Kokon, so he's kind of like here with me. So, um, oh, so this is Ambert, and I'm not going to look at the screen because it's a little bit, it gets a little, we don't look the same. I look different in Innerworld. But so one of the important things is reaching equilibrium. I am the part in the system that is all about equilibrium. And this is my first time being in the body and talking while we're on video like this. We usually have the video off. So maybe eventually I'll be, I don't know. Anyway, but what I wanted to share, and Crystal's still Kokon, but what I wanted to share is that as the part in the system that is about equilibrium, it's it's really important to find a way to gather that for your system. So it's something that we worked really hard with, and I support my system in doing. The journaling can really help. You can either do it by hand, you can type it, you can write it, with a pen, whatever feels comfortable. Sometimes it feels more comfortable to do it by audio, whatever you guys want to do. But finding a way, especially for the alters that are most out, what soothes them is going to be so important, especially as teamwork, because when someone is a little bit dysregulated, it starts to ripple effect across the system because we share a body and we share a mind. Now, we don't all have access to the same parts of the brain all of the time. There's certain parts of the brain where one of us will have access, but another won't, right? And so we try and share with each other, and that's what's helped the blackouts, because I'm not going to have the same access as certain parts like Fuego. He's not going to have the same access in certain parts of the brain like me or Crystal. So, but when we start to communicate with each other, when we start to talk to each other, that's when we start to share the information. And I don't know the science of this, but I do wonder if it starts to fire off different parts of the brain, and maybe they start to, I don't know, connect somehow. Again, I'm not a scientist, so whatever. It's just like a little theory. But when we start to communicate with each other and we start to share informations, that's with each other, and having these group conversations, we have like kind of these team meetings and these group meetings with each other. Um, and we kind of go through what's someone going through. Sometimes someone was just raging. When the system first came out, everyone was pissed. It took a long time for us to get even mildly cohesive as a team. But the team building is so important because that's where the blackouts end for us. Anyway, that's our experience. It might be different for other people, but that's just a pointer we wanted to share because it might help other systems who are dealing with blackout. The more you work as a team, the less people are being repressed, the more likely those blackouts are going to stop for you. So that's what happened for us. We, but it took a long time. But the blackouts, I think, for us stopped in, when did they stop? I want to say they stopped sometime within the first 6 months to a year of us becoming a system. I mean, being aware as a system. I don't know. Someone else probably has that memory. I can't access that timeline. But yeah. So I just wanted to come in and share that, and I found myself here. But yeah, so equilibrium is so important for a system. You might have a part in your system that prioritizes or just naturally prioritizes equilibrium and can really help. I was actually really silenced and pushed to the back in our system, so it took them a long time to kind of really start to fully interact with me and for me to be safe in Innerworld enough to come forward and actually make a difference for the system. I had a bunch of persecutors coming after me, so if you have a part that's in equilibrium, they might be hidden by persecutors accidentally. I mean, this is just, how systems are. They might be deep in Innerworld. So again, but start with the team you have, and you might already have your equilibrium person and might not have realized it. Um, and if you don't, just keep doing the work you do with your team, and eventually you should find them. But it took the team protecting me intensely before I was able to really come out to the extent that I am now and support the system. Okay, I can't be out here anymore, so we're just gonna hand it back to Crystal because this did not expect to switch out here. Okay. Okay, well, yay, switching. Okay, that, whew, that was
That was a bit intense because no one expected anyone to switch out right now, though I know we have DID and these things happen, but this is the first time we've just let the camera go for it. So it's a little, um, it's very vulnerable. It's a little scary to share, pretty scared to share. Um, but we're, as a system, allowing ourselves to become more and more out. So, wee! But says Amber, he's the person, yeah, he's part of what we call our support team. I'm kind of part of that in a sense. I don't know, but that's like our support team. So he's one of the emotional protectors. And so one of his big things is equilibrium. He's amazing. He's so amazing with that. He helps with that a lot. Um, yeah, I'm really surprised he came out here, but I guess the conversation just like he really wanted to share that with you. So yes. But yeah, anyway, I'm just gonna anyway away a switch because that's life. As all right, well, I'm not gonna try and bypass that. I think it's just it's didn't expect to do that on camera and let that stick here. And this is gonna be a lot longer than I expected, but um, I think it's good, and I'm glad that Amber did come out to share that because I caught most of what he shared, but I'll rewatch and see all of what he shared later. But I know it had to do with equilibrium, so clearly he wanted to share that with you. So I'm glad he did. And yeah, he's still very Kokon, and we are very switchy right now. So, but yeah, thanks for watching. If you want to support our channel, best free way to do that is like, comment, share, subscribe is the biggest one. We definitely want to build our channel. Our abusive ex really just shut down all of it, so we're rebuilding pretty much from scratch, and we're also very grateful to the subscribers who stuck with us through all this time. We're looking forward to making more content, and if you have any questions, if you have any topics on DID that you want us to talk about, if you have any questions, as long as you're asking respectfully, feel free to ask in the comments. And if there's content that you want to see regarding DID, we're going to be making way more, of course, but if there's anything specific you have a question about that you'd like us to make a video, feel free to ask. We are happy, like, we're happy to educate people on this. We want, the singlet community to become expansive and be aware of the plural community. So yeah, we also recommend that you also check out OSDD content creators and learn some more about that. We're also learning more about OSDD ourselves. But yeah, if you have any questions about DID, but we are a polyfragmented DID system. We are Ramcoa created. So polyfrag Ramcoa created DID system. If you have questions about any of that, hopefully we'll answer that with the content we make, but feel free to ask. We are here for you. We are here to make videos to support you on your education journey. Okay, one more thing before we go. The point of psychologists and therapists should be to listen to DID systems and to help us heal. Healing doesn't mean we act like a singlet. That's not heal, but support us healing the trauma that we've gone through. But you can't heal DID. We are what we are. And then seeing us as broken for not being a singlet is ableist. And what it does is it causes us damage. It does not help us heal. We heal as a team. Some systems will heal and they want to be, as close to a singlet as possible. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what's true for them. But that's just not the baseline. So the point should be to listen to DID systems, learn from us what happened, what we survived, so you can help other children stay safe. Like that's the whole point, is to make sure that children, like, and I know this is like such a big thing, but it should be big. We need to make sure that children globally are safe. What the fuck? Why this should not be a big ask. I understand we're in a really fucked up world. I get it. But that should be the goal, is as a society that every infant, every child is safe. And any, preteen, every teenager, which to me that's like the spectrum of children, that they're all safe at all of these time frames, because we exist because we were trafficked and tortured as children. We don't want that to happen to other children. You need to listen to us, and you need to save the kids out there right now who this is happening to. Because right now, there are DID systems being created, whether it's through Ramcoa or whether it's through other means. DID systems are being created. How are they being created? Because children are being abducted right now. Children are being trafficked right now. Not all of them are going to turn into DID systems, but many of them may. And it doesn't matter whether they all turn into DID systems. That's like, the point is they should all be safe. But what I'm saying is the one way that DID no longer exists, the real way that DID no longer exists, is you get off your ass. You go pay attention to the children who are missing. And the children in your own town, the children in your freaking next door. This happens frequently. There are children being abused who are being tortured, and they need to be safe. You need to save these kids. That's the bottom line. If you really don't want DID to exist in a real sense, you need to keep every child safe. Do it. But we're here, we exist. No one was around to keep us safe. Okay, you failed there, but don't fail these other children. Don't fail the children right now who exist and who are living these nightmares, because you have no fucking clue what we are put through to be created. You have no clue what DID systems are put through to be created. Step up and keep children safe. That's what you need to do. If you really don't want DID to exist, too late, it's already here because we weren't kept safe. But moving forward, the goal should be every child is so safe that there aren't DID systems anymore. That should be the goal. That should be the goal. Is you want to eradicate the existence of DID systems, then that means you keep every child in this, you champion that every child in this world is safe moving forward. We exist here. You can't eradicate our existence here. Again, you can't be Delulu and be like, la 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 la, you don't exist because you're confronting me and I have a very small puny brain and I can't handle it. And I don't care if you get offended by that. You should. I get offended when you try to eradicate my existence with your opinion, which is all supremacy. So, lift yourself up. Go take care of these kids. And make sure every child is safe. That is the bottom line of this. That is the bottom line of what you should take from DID systems, is that right now there are other DID systems being made because children are not safe. Fucking fix it. Come here with, I want to pretend you don't exist. How cool. Because when you pretend we don't exist, you are turning a blind eye to all of the children who are being trafficked globally right now. And to those children who there may not be specifically trafficked in like big groups or anything like that, but it can happen in your very own town. Okay? And it doesn't have to take a big group to make a DID system. You torturing a child. And yes, pedophilia is torture. Stop pretending that it's not. Let's call it what it is. It is torturing children. Stop having conversations with these people who torture children. Like, you need to keep the children safe. You need to have conversations with the children. Have conversations with the children. And we've shared before that if you have a child that comes up to you and is like, I had a dream, because oftentimes they drugged us, and they've drugged a lot of DID systems, but specifically Ramcoa created. They heavily use drugs. They probably do it on non-Ramcoa created systems as well, but we were heavily drugged, and so everything feels like a dream, right? So if you have a child that comes to you and says, I had a dream that this cartoon character did X, Y, and Z, look into it. Maybe it's just a dream. Hopefully, it's just a dream. But it might not be. Because these people, they do things that are so outrageous so that, they wear costumes and stuff like that often. So that if a child tries to speak up, they will not be believed. They'll be like, oh, that's ridiculous. Of course that was a dream. No one would that. A cartoon can't do that. Well, it's not a real cartoon. It's a sicko in a fucking mask or in a costume. Listen to children. Keep them safe. This shit is fucking real. We're here. We are the voice to this. Our existence is a call out to all of these children who are hurting right now. Our very existence highlights all of this abuse that's happening, highlights child trafficking. If you're trying to shut us down, you are shutting down the voices of child trafficking. You are muting the reality of child trafficking. You are muting the reality of victims of pedophiles. You're muting the reality of incest. You're muting the reality of abusers who are torturing children in any fucking way. That's what you're doing when you silence DID systems. You mute survivors. You mute the victims right now who are surviving it. You silence them. You make a mockery of child trafficking. That's what you're doing when you silence DID systems. Okay? So don't be so fucking proud of yourself to debate DID or say it's controversial. Yeah, sure. Sure, it's controversial in your little mind because you can't process it. That's not our problem. If you are against pedophilia, if you are against child trafficking, if you are against torture of children, then listen to DID systems. But if you want to hide all of that, then keep trying to deny DID doesn't exist. Keep denying our existence. I mean, it's not you're in the land of Delulu. We exist. You can't just opinion us away. But this is what you're doing when you're silencing DID systems. You are being a part of what hides child trafficking, child abuse, incest, all of the abuse towards infants and children, teens, middles, we call middles in Innerworld, preteens. You're hiding it. So I don't think that's something you should congratulate yourself for. So do better. You can change. I'm not holding my fucking breath, but I'm putting this out there so anybody who hears this, you can start to understand the severity of these psychologists who are taking it upon themselves, who think they can debate our existence or who think they can call our existence controversial. What's controversial is their idea to minimize us. What's controversial is their silencing of us. What's controversial is them supporting child abuse and child trafficking by pretending that DID systems aren't real. Take some time and think about that. Digest that. That's the only controversy here. That's the reality of what's going on. Do not feed them. Do not acknowledge them. Do not validate them. Invalidate the fuck out of them. Don't even freeze them out. Gray rock the fuck out of them. Okay? It is time to reclaim psychology and therapy for what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a service to help people. And we need y'all to step up. We need your help, obviously. And psychology and therapy should be a safe space. And DID systems, we need a fucking safe space. We are trying to heal. But you having these abusers, or you even giving credence to these abusers, or recommending these abusers because you're not aware, do better. Do better. Protect us, keep us safe, and give us a place. Work your skills. Do your job. That's your job, is to keep us safe. And that's going to include including the circle of abusers that are around you within the psychology field. Okay. We will talk more on the very levels of this and so much more. We will continue to educate because this abuse needs to stop. Stop abusing DID systems. So we're so glad you're here. So thank you for being here with us. And feel free to support us. You can also check out our website, OpenHeartsUnite.org. Get to learn more about us. If you want to support us, you can also go to our Ko-fi. That'll be in the description. We have membership tiers. We're going to be starting to write. We're still healing right now, so it's going to be a bit before we can write stories again. But we will be there. You can also follow us on Readsy. We got to put that link up. But if you look up Nurture System on Readsy, I think it's just Nurture System. I wonder. Anyway, we'll find the link. And we're going to be playing on Readsy just to kind of, that stuff will be available for free. We might put some stuff, but the rest of our writing is going to be available on Ko-fi and from any tier, starting with the $1 tier. So if you want to support us, you can go on Ko-fi, and it supports us because as a DID system, we really struggle with being able to do just like normie jobs because we need time off. We need to be able, there are times when we're just not functional. So if you want to support us, you can go to our website. You'll see we have a bunch of services that you can hire us for. Or also if you just want to support us as artists and stuff like that, you can head over to our Ko-fi and become a member. Whee! We're going to be updating some of the tiers, some of the higher tiers, because we had some stuff about meeting in person, but that's just not safe. So we're going to be shifting that. We have to just be very safe, especially about the topics, because of the topics we do talk about and how brazen we are. We just have to take another level of security with that. And but we'll look forward to catching you soon. And I will end the video now. This is a long outro.